Welcome to Sex Positive Gaming. I'm Annie, and today we're going to look at Chapter 1 of the Fate of Mirador. Available for PC, SteamOS, and Linux on Steam, with Mac and Android builds available on itch.io and their Patreon. As many of you know by now, I am a sucker for fantasy RPG games. The Fate of Mirador takes a more standard visual novel progression and adds turn-based combat, kingdom management, and multiple paths to explore and pursue. There is a lot I like about this game, but I do have some concerns that I'll cover later in the video. Graphically, the game is well rendered and does a great job capturing the fantasy medieval environment. The lighting is, however, kind of dark. I get that may be a stylistic choice, but I do wish everything was a little bit brighter. The sexual interactions are animated but silent, and the music is decent and fits the theme. Flavor-wise, this is a harem adventure with a mostly male heterosexual focus, but there is the option of some trans and femboy content. I know YouTube hates that word, but the developer uses it, and I'm happy to use some other classification for the male version of a tomboy in order to stay out of trouble. If you all can think of an acceptable alternative term, feel free to let me know in the comments. And before I get yelled at, again, for having classifications like that at all, how else can I explain to you all what is and is not in a game? Anyways, there's also monsters, monster girls, fantasy, and power exchange. Given how the story is developing, I expect the flavors to expand as we move into additional chapters. I enjoyed playing the Fate of Mirador. There's a level of gameplay and interactivity that was not in the two previous visual novels, Alice and Fall of the Apple and The Shrink, by developer One Man VN. Combat was a nice change of pace that didn't feel too overbearing with choices or visuals. And I'm excited to see what kind of skills the main character's team will learn, as well as how the leveling system will evolve through the later chapters. My only real concern is the price. If we're going to get updates or free DLC, then I highly recommend giving this game a shot. The problem is that in this industry, some developers provide updates that are included with the original price, and some charge for every update. It's not clear what we can expect from a length and price standpoint with Chapter 2, let alone any of the other planned future chapters. While there are 3 main paths in Chapter 1, even if you play through all of them, this is a pretty short game. Fun, but short. I can totally see this becoming a great game with additional content, but I can also see it becoming a very expensive game depending on the pricing model. That's where I am with the Fate of Mirador. I like the game and I'm excited to play Chapter 2, but there's just not a lot of content yet. So if you enjoy fantasy harems and are willing to take a risk on what may end up being a more expensive series, then I highly recommend giving the Fate of Mirador a shot. For those of you on the fence, you may want to wait until Chapter 2 or 3 comes out before making a final decision. I hate having to qualify a recommendation like this, but I would hate it even more if I didn't say anything and disappointed you all. Let me know what you think. Have you played? Am I being too harsh? What do you think we should expect from developers from a content versus price standpoint? What can developers do to be more clear about chapters, updates, and other forms of episodic releases? Just like with so many other things in our industry, this seems completely up in the air. And it's really up to us to communicate to developers what we want this industry to eventually look like, with our reviews, our recommendations, and most importantly, with our dollars. Until next time, no shaming, just gaming. Thanks to all this month's support on Patreon. I wouldn't have been able to do this without you all.